What's going on, guys? It's Justin back here with another video, and today we're going to be covering The Last of Us episodes 6 through 9. So let's get into episode 6. We start off after the death of Henry and Sam, just for a quick little moment, just to show that, yeah, our characters have acknowledged that they've died and now they have moved on. So then I think it takes a time jump of like 3 months maybe, and we go into these old folks' home. Well, Joel is asking them the best way to get to Wyoming, I believe it is, and they're telling them to not go west, because west everybody dies that way. So they ask them, well, which way should we go? And they said go east, because if you go east, you won't die. Well, Joel, being Joel, he decides to go west because he's trying to find Tommy, and he's thinking, oh, these people are killing. Maybe Tommy's a part of that community. Well, after they leave those old folks' house, they eventually go up on a mountain, and there is a circle of people on horses that surround them. They have a dog with them. Well, Joel is scared, like, out of his mind, and these people tell him, like, stop. Like, what are your intentions? What are you doing here? Joel says he's trying to find his brother, and the men say, all right, we have a dog, and if you're infected, he'll know. So you better tell us if you're infected now, because if you are lying to us, and if you are infected, he's going to tear you to shreds. Well, this gets Joel, like, so scared, because he's worried for Ellie, because obviously Ellie is infected. Well, he's sitting there, you could see the sweat coming down his face and everything. Well, thankfully, the dog just goes and he starts playing with Ellie, so she doesn't get torn to shreds, obviously. But, yeah, they eventually start talking again after the dog situation, and a woman comes up, and her name is Maria, and we all know Maria. She's married to Tommy in the game, and she asked what Joel's brother's name is, and he says Tommy. Well, she takes her back to the community, which is Jackson. Jackson was never introduced in the first game, but they're introducing us to Jackson now, because I believe they're going to do some sort of, like, different seasons in season 2. So, yeah. So we're getting introduced to Jackson now, and Joel finds Tommy, which, I mean, is a big relief for him, I could tell, because Joel is getting old, and he wanted to find his brother before he died. Well, eventually, they go in, they reunite, and they go in and they start eating. Well, they're eating, and Ellie's just going crazy. She's cussing, and she has these kids staring at her. Well, one of the kids is a little girl with black hair peeking out from the corner, and that is supposed to be Dina, which is pretty cool. I like how they did that. They're already introducing some of the people from The Last of Us Part 2 in there, which is pretty neat. So they continue on. Joel and Tommy branch off, go do their own thing. Maria and Ellie branch off, do their own thing. Maria and Ellie are talking, and Maria explains to Ellie that Joel's had a daughter before, and Ellie never knew that. So she obviously knew that was a weakness he was hiding from her. And Joel and Tommy are away, and Joel is explaining to Tommy that he needs Tommy to take Ellie and just have her stay there, because Joel knows he's getting weak, and he is starting to grow a bond with Ellie finally, and he's scared of what will happen to her if he doesn't take care of her. Well, Tommy eventually, after all the arguing, Tommy eventually says yes, he'll take her. So, without even asking Ellie, he finds her because she ran off, because she found out about Joel's daughter. So she ran off to a different house, and Joel eventually finds her. And they start talking, and Ellie says, well, when were you going to tell me you're going to leave me? Like, you're not even giving me a choice for this. So, I mean, what the hell is up with that? Well, they do the iconic scene from the game where the whole, you're not my daughter, and I sure as hell ain't your father speech. And then Ellie does leave with Tommy after that. So that's completely different from the game, because during that, they get attacked in the house. So Ellie leaves with Tommy, and then they meet again in the morning, and Joel is bringing Ellie her bag. Well, Ellie is getting ready to leave with Tommy, and Joel says, you know what, I should give you a choice. And without no hesitation, Ellie says, you know what, yep, I'm coming with you. Let's get out of here. So they leave. And they eventually end up going to this college campus, which is where in the game Joel is supposed to go down and get a piece of rebarb through his stomach. Well, that doesn't happen. They change it up to where they're scavenging through the college, and there's 4 guys that show up. Well, these guys start fighting Joel, and one of them breaks a baseball bat, and they stab Joel right in the stomach without Joel even knowing. So that's how they do the rebarb scene in that. So eventually Joel and Ellie are riding off, and Joel's like weak. He can't hold on anymore. Like, he can't take it. He's losing a lot of blood. And then eventually the episode ends there. So that was episode 5 of The Last of Us. And then yeah. Alright, you guys, and now moving on to episode 7 of The Last of Us. It is basically all about Ellie. We get shown that about her and Riley. We get taken through the whole mall that they have been through. And we get shown how Ellie gets bit. And it's basically just the add-on pack from the game. So that's basically what the episode was, how I summed it up. That was episode 7 of The Last of Us. So, yeah. But I'll go into more detail. So, Ellie's friend, Riley, left the camp. It was a Fedra camp for kids. And eventually, Riley comes up, and she comes back saying she's a Firefly. Well, keep in mind in this game, Fireflies and Fedra hate each other. So Ellie's like, well, why the hell would you do that? You know, like, now we're enemies now, this and that. Well, Riley says, I want to take you out to a place I found. And you're going to say no, but then you're going to say yes. Well, she does exactly that. She says no, and then she says yes. So they go out to this mall, and they start exploring a whole bunch of places. They go to an arcade, they ride carousels, they go through a whole bunch of stores, and then eventually they end up in the Halloween store in the game where they put on the mask and they start dancing. Well, the music is blasting, and there is a clicker in there. He's just waking up. The music's blasting, and they don't hear him. And after they get down, they have a kiss scene, Ellie and Riley. So then after that, just to ruin the mood, the clicker comes, and he bites Riley, and he bites Ellie, but they eventually fight him off and kill him. Well, it is revealed that they were both bit, and that they were going to take the easy way out, but they decide not to. So they decide just to wait it out and die together. So that is basically episode 7 summed up in a whole story. So yeah, episode 7 of The Last of Us. Alright, you guys, now we're getting into episode 8 of The Last of Us. This episode is also just about Ellie. There's an appearance from Joel, just a little bit of the episode. He's down in a blanket, but, you know, she has to try and fix that big wound that he has. So she goes out and she goes hunting for deer. Well, while hunting for deer, she meets a man named David. And we all know where this is going. David has a guy with him, which I forget his name, but the guy that is with David is actually played by the same person that played Joel in the Last of Us games, Troy Baker. So I'm just going to refer to him as Troy Baker this episode. So Ellie runs into Troy Baker and David. And Troy and David found this deer that Ellie had shot and killed. Well, Ellie, she's trying to act all big and tough and everything because she's a kid. She's scared. She's on her own. And she's telling them to leave the deer alone because she killed it. That's hers. She wants to take it back to feed her and Joel. Well, David offers a trade. he says, we know you have a friend that's hurt back there, and we know you need medicine. So how about you let us take the deer and we give you what you need? So eventually, David tells Troy, go back to the camp, get her what she needs, bring it back, just let her go. So that happens. Troy brings back what Ellie needs, and Ellie gets Joel all stitched up. Well, this is the part where Joel comes in. So, those men know that Joel killed all those guys at the college campus, because those guys at the college campus, they were a part of their group, and they know that Joel and Ellie killed them. So this is where Joel comes back into play. Ellie tells Joel, there's going to be guys coming for you. When they come for you, I want you to get up and I want you to run, and I'm going to distract them. So she sees him coming. So Ellie goes out on her horse. I forget what her name is. I think her name is Butterscotch, maybe. I'm not too sure. But yeah, she goes out on her horse and she distracts them. So David and, I believe it's David that goes after her. David, Troy, and a whole bunch of other people go after her. So they eventually shoot the horse down and they capture her. And eventually 2 guys end up finding Joel. So this is where the episode splits into 2. We have half the episode focused on Ellie and half the episode focused on Joel. Joel encounters 2 people, 2 guys, and these guys want to kill him, obviously, because they killed his friend. Well, Joel's not going to let that happen. He wants to find out what happened to Ellie. So he beats the ever-living hell out of these guys, pops one of the guys' kneecaps off, and he finds out where Ellie is. Meanwhile, Ellie is held captive at David's camp. And David's basically sitting there saying that he wants her to be his wife. Well, Ellie is disgusted by him, which rightfully so. I would be too. But yeah, David's sitting there saying that they could be something together, that they could run this whole place. It would be nice. It would be awesome. And Ellie sees what he's doing. So in her head, she's thinking, yeah, like, if I say what he wants to hear, then maybe he'll let me go. So she starts saying what he wants to hear, and he eventually falls for it. So he goes in to hold her hand, and she breaks his fingers. So he breaks her nose by busting it on a metal bar in the cell that she's in. And then she looks over to the side and she sees ears on the ground. So she finds out that these guys are also cannibals. Not only are they crazy, they're cannibals. So this guy is basically going to come and kill Ellie and turn her into stew meat. Well, Ellie, like in the game, fights her way off, and she takes a meat cleaver and she basically bashes David's face in. I mean, that scene was so brutal, but I mean, the poor girl's traumatized afterwards. So I was hoping they were going to do the scene in the game where Joel comes into the place and saves her, but they didn't. Joel finds her outside and he tells her, like, it's okay, baby girl, like, we're going to get through this. And yeah, that is the end of episode 8 of The Last of Us. Alright, you guys, and now we are at the season finale of The Last of Us. Joel and Ellie have come this far, and it's now summertime. It's not wintertime anymore. Well, Joel and Ellie are walking through, trying to get to this place, while they find an abandoned place. Well, they go up the stairs, they keep going up the stairs. Ellie sees something, Joel thinks she's in trouble. So they keep running up the stairs to see what's happening, and eventually Joel sees that it's just a big old giraffe. And he thinks it's basically a peaceful moment between these two. And Joel has obviously started a bond with Ellie to where she's more like a daughter to him. And he sits there and he tries to remind her, like, we don't have to do this. Like, you could tell that he's really bonded with Ellie. He's saying we don't have to do this. There's another way. And yeah. Well, she says that they've been through so much already, and she doesn't want that to be for nothing. She doesn't want Tess to be for nothing, Riley to be for nothing, Hermione to be for nothing. So she wants to continue with this. So they're walking through an army base, and all of a sudden, these Firefly soldiers come up behind them. The Firefly soldiers don't know who they are, so they knock them out and they take them to a hospital. And this hospital is obviously filled with Fireflies. Well, Joel wakes up and Marlene's there, and she says, sorry, they didn't know who you were. They weren't trying to hurt you. They were just trying to do their job and everything. And Joel doesn't give two shits about that. He goes and he says, where's Ellie? Ellie, where is she? And she says, well, she's getting prepped for surgery. So he's thinking it's surgery. Well, why does she need to go to surgery? Well, Marlene explains to Joel that the fungus that Ellie got bit by went up to her brain. So they believe that the reason why she's immune is because of her brain, and if they can get samples of that, they can get a cure for this virus that's going around. And of course, Joel doesn't want that because Joel's already started a bond with Ellie, and he doesn't want to lose her, which understandably so. Well, Joel tries to fight it, and Marlene says to her guys, take him out, put him on the highway, watch him go. Well, they're starting to do that. And while Ellie's out of the picture right now, it's just Joel. And Joel is such a badass on this part, guys. I mean, I truly, truly mean this. He takes out one of the guys with a pocket knife, and he shoots the other one in the head, which is crazy. And then they do like a quick montage of Joel going through and shooting down all of the guards and everything. Then he eventually picks up Ellie. Well, he doesn't pick her up yet, but he goes to the hospital room where, now, if you didn't play The Last of Us Part 2, you wouldn't know this, but this is a spoiler for The Last of Us Part 2, so if you haven't played it, don't listen to it. But the doctor that Joel shoots in the head to get to Ellie is Abby's father, and that's why Ellie comes and does what she does to Joel in Part 2. Not Ellie, Abby. But, yeah. Joel saves Ellie at the end of the day, and they drive off. And Ellie is in the back of her car, in the back of Joel's car, and her hospital gown. And she asks him what happened. And he goes, you know what? He tells a big lie. He says, you know what? They found other people like you. They did test on them. It turns out it didn't work. So they're letting you go. Well, she believes him because obviously she's been knocked out the whole time. But then it flashes back to Marlene trying to stop Joel from taking Ellie, saying that she can be the cure, she can be for something. And she asks Joel, what would Ellie think of Joel trying to stop her? And he knows the answer. He knows Ellie wants this to happen. Well, Joel doesn't hesitate. He shoots Marlene right in the gut. And then Marlene says, you know what, you don't have to do this. You don't have to finish me off. I mean, you guys can go. You guys can do what you want. And Joel looks at her and he goes, you just come after her anyway. And he shoots her right in the head, which is crazy. I know that is right out of the game, but still, it still surprised me. But yeah. So at the end of the game, not the end of the game, the end of the show, he tells her, they found more people like you. Test didn't work out, so they let you go. And yeah, end of the game, they end up going back to Tommy's. So that was the season finale for The Last of Us. I mean, it was a good show. I liked it a lot. I love what they did with the show. I can't wait for season 2. It's not going to be here fast enough, sadly. But when season 2 does come out, I will be sure to film that for you guys. So hope you guys have a good one. Let me know what you thought about The Last of Us Season 1 down in the comments below. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.